Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Slimming Surgeon podcast. I am your host, Dr. Kandace Kichler. Today, I have with me a very fabulous, beautiful guest, Kiera DiCicco. She is the owner of Albany Aesthetics. She also owns her own anesthesia business, Beauty Sleep Anesthesia, as well as a surgical center. Kiera and I met years ago back in the hospital when she was doing anesthesia services there and I was training in general surgery. Today, she has grown into this amazing injector, businesswoman, and mom. So I thought she would have a lot for us to talk about, and we will get right into it. Welcome, Kiera.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here, seriously. And it's really good to see you again after all this time.
I know. We live like a county away, but we don't see each other that often because we're both really, really busy.
Right. And we're always like, we should get drinks. And then,
and then we just, have kids and, run our business, and it's just a lot. Mm-hmm. So let's kind of give everybody a rundown. When did you start injecting, and when did you start your business, and maybe just give us the background?
So I started in 2018, and it was really just a hobby. I started it just for fun on the side because I was getting it done by somebody, and I thought it would be fun to just do it on family and friends. And I think a lot of people think that they're going to start off like that. I get a lot of questions.
It'll be so easy. Exactly. Let me just order some Botox.
Exactly.
Ship it to my house.
Yeah, right. So for real. So I started doing it that way, and still anesthesia was my number one. And then it just grew because my friends told their friends and their friends, et cetera. And I had strangers coming to me to the point where I was like, this wasn't really my idea.
Yeah.
But then it grew into a passion of mine. I actually wouldn't say that this is something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do anesthesia, since I was before nursing school. And then this passion just kind of grew on me more than anything I've ever done. So I still have a passion for anesthesia and medicine, but this is just this gives me life, and I love it. And I love it.
Isn't it so crazy? I mean, I have a similar journey, I was literally doing full-blown weight loss surgery, and then my opportunity to do a cosmetic surgery fellowship just fell into my lap, and I realized my potential and what I was really meant to do. And here I am.
Yeah. So, I feel like it fits you so well.
I know. I mean, everybody says that. I mean, since I got into medical school, people were like, can you do my boobs? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But now here I am. Putting in boobs, putting in breast implants.
You can do mine.
I know. One day, whenever you're ready. Okay, before I forget, I was going to say in the intro, we do have a special offer for our listeners today. So listen to the whole episode, because at the end, Kiera's going to give you a really great deal. Okay, back to the episode. Okay. So let's talk about that transition that you went through. When you were doing, when you are functioning as a CRNA, doing your thing, and then you really decided to jump into aesthetics. Were people critical of you? Did you feel guilty about doing that? Walk us through that.
So, I think that what really pushed me out of the nest in the aesthetics world was an unfortunate circumstance in my life that I was doing it on the side. I was getting busier, but then, I actually got let go from my job doing anesthesia.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't getting along with the head anesthesiologist. So I'm not proud of that, but I am proud of where I took that.
Yeah.
And that was where I really was like, okay, what am I going to do with my career? I need to make serious decisions here. Do I just go work at another hospital? But I wasn't happy in that environment. And I think that's why him and I didn't get along. So I actually am happy that he did that and that I was put in that situation. At the time, it was my whole world was crashing down. But that is the only way I think I would have made the jump, because I was nervous, going from just doing it for fun to doing it seriously. And then the more that I did it, I learned that in order to be really good at this, you really have to put your whole heart into it. So, I think that difficult situation is what,
allowed you to grow.
Right. And yeah, I definitely was like judged at first, like, oh, she's just doing Botox now,
Yeah.
And
I still get that.
Yeah.
Like every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you're a cosmetologist now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely felt judged, but, I think how I found my path in the anesthesia world is I ended up deciding to put more of my time into injectables, but then didn't want to give up anesthesia. So I then started my small business doing anesthesia for plastic surgeons locally. And then when that got busier, I ended up hiring other CRNAs to work with me to pick up more cases, and that kind of grew. So I still have my roots, in anesthesia. And then that's why, I mean, I'm sure we'll get down into the whole picture of my business, but that's why I ended up incorporating that side of it into my business. Right.
So, your anesthesia business, like you now have other anesthesia providers that you basically send on on assignments to work with plastic surgeons. And then you provide anesthesia in your new surgical center.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So where did you first start doing this? Like you said, you started doing this as obviously at home, and then was your next location the Albany Aesthetics?
So it was actually called Albany Downtown, and it was in this little house, and it was built in the 1920s in Stuart, Florida. And the reason we called it that is because it was on Albany Avenue, and it was in downtown Stuart. So that's where I got the name. A lot of people say, "Are you from New York?" But
yeah, right.
I'm actually Canadian. But yeah, so I wanted to keep our roots and their name, Albany. So I did tweak it a bit. And when we expanded, I tweaked it to, just Albany Aesthetics.
Gotcha.
So, because I wanted to keep the name, and we used to have like a hair salon and all that in there with us. But, when I grew, I just kind of grew out of that. So.
Gotcha. And so now tell us about your building and what else is inside. Cause I didn't even touch on the high-end clothing line yet.
So, it's a 10,000 square foot building, and it used to be the Red Cross building. So I pretty much gutted the whole thing and turned it into a pink castle.
Cute.
So on one side we have a conference center, and, then I have, a high-end clothing boutique. So what I'm wearing today is from our boutique.
Beautiful.
It's Love Shack Fancy. And we have Camilla, He-Man and Adita, C. Luster. We're talking to Alice and Olivia. So
love it.
We're growing. And then we obviously have the med spa part where we do all injectables, lasers. We have the Halo BBL, Moxie. We do lashes, spa services, hydrofacial. And
so it's like a one-stop shop. You can literally go there for your dress for the night out.
Exactly.
Get everything done, and then also get some plastic surgery on the side.
Yeah, exactly. That was my vision for Albany, was to treat the woman and men from the inside out, and finish it off with a cute little outfit.
Yeah.
So, and then on the other end is the surgery center where we do plastic surgery.
I love that. How many plastic surgery providers do you have so far?
Right now we have 3 that kind of come and go. We're talking to another 4 or 5 that are interested. So, we just got our license in March. Okay. So it took a long time, all the red tape you have to go through, which is good, for safety.
Right.
But yeah, so we just got our license, and we're doing good. And I have Stephanie, one of my injectors, actually in the med spa. She does anesthesia for me as well. So she's the head CRNA in our operating room, and she loves it. So she just loves being able to be there and do both injectables and anesthesia. And so
that's amazing. It really takes a business mind to be able to do everything that you're doing. Do you have any training in this? Who has taught you how to build this incredible empire?
Yeah, the business side of it, honestly, I've had to learn along the way, but I think I just have the genes for it, because I have to give a lot of the credit to my dad. He's an entrepreneur. He owns his own business and has for years, and he's always had that entrepreneur mindset. even before he opened his business. And then my grandfather had his own business and so I'm just kind of surrounded by entrepreneurs. And it's always, my mom said I used to always do things as a kid. Like I did like a dog walking company when I was like 8 and I made like business cards and picking up the Coke cans and collecting that. So, lemonade stands is the typical, but I did all that kind of stuff as a kid. So I think it's always been in me, but it's the hardest part of the job, like injecting is like the fun part.
Right.
But the business side, having the hard talks with employees, managing them. Right. That's the hard part that you aren't taught. And, part of me wishes or even thinks, should I take some business courses? So that's definitely the hard part. But I think I do have it in me and it just comes naturally, but I'm definitely learning. Yeah. And it's like I make a mistake with a certain situation and I just think, okay, like I'm just going to take notes and not do that again with the next situation.
Exactly. So you talked about those hard conversations with employees. How was it building your team? When you do your business yourself and you start it all yourself, I feel like it can be really hard to relinquish, certain duties or trust other people to inject your clients or whatever it may be. Like, how did you find these people? How many people do you have right now working for you?
So I am definitely a micromanager and it was very hard for me to give up control of a lot of things until the last year. But I definitely had to go through a few people to find my team. And I feel like I found that. The girls that I have right now they're so amazing. They have my back. My 2 injectors, Stephanie and Melissa, they've been with me for years and they're like sisters to me at this point, but they still respect me as the owner. And then my team, my office team and my assistants, they know at this point, they've been with me. The ones that have been able to make it through the Kiera boot camp, they know how I work. Yeah. So, and it feels like family at this point, but there's still hard talks. And so I definitely had to go through a decent amount of employees to find, at first, at one point I'm like, this is like just a wheel and I'm just going through these people, but it's cause I have really high expectations and I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think I just have to find people that can work with those high expectations.
Right. It is really hard. When you're doing what we're doing, it seems, very frou-frou and fun, but it's real treatments and real procedures. But people also expect that concierge level of care. Like they want to get in touch with you when they want to get in touch with you, or they want to have like really good follow-up. Like they want to be treated like a VIP no matter how much they're paying. And your staff has to also respect that. I feel like that's the biggest thing about the aesthetic and plastics industry is that it's like medicine on steroids.
I always say we're Saks, not Walmart. When you walk into Saks, they're very doting. Can I put this in a dressing room? And Walmart's like aisle 6. So I'm like, I always say that in our team meetings. I'm like, remember, we're Saks, not Walmart. So
right. Yeah. So how do you kind of walk that line with being like a boss babe, like the person in charge, the business owner, but also getting along with your team and not being too much of a pushover? Like, do you ever struggle with that?
Yes. And that's been the hardest thing that I've had to learn is I love to have fun. I love a good girl time. I love feeling that camaraderie. But that has also gotten me in trouble, with staff. And I think I've realized that it comes down to you have to find the people that are not going to cross the line. Like I said, like Stephanie and Melissa. Yeah. I had 2 injectors. They're both nurse practitioners. They're extremely respectful, but I also can be 100% myself around them. There's definitely been a decent amount of staff though that I've allowed to get close with me, and then that it gets abused. And then I think to myself, I'm going to put my wall up. I'm not going to get close to any of my staff members anymore. It's just business only. But that's not who I am like inside. Yeah. So I struggle with that because I want to go to work and I want to have fun. Right. And be close with the girls. So
it's really hard. I struggle with the same thing. I haven't found the
answer yet.
Yeah. I don't know that there is. I don't know that there is.
Because a lot of business people say you can't be friends with your employees. And I agree, but
to some extent. But like you said, you know, when you have other injectors and people that are also providing care like you do, but maybe at a different level, then it's hard to not feel as though maybe you are on the same page and that you can kind of commiserate about certain things, but you gotta be careful.
I know, it's hard. I think it really just has to do with the person. At the end of the day, the type of person that they are, you know.
Exactly. So how do you deal with criticism? Like if someone, there's two ways we can think about this, like a patient, like, or a client, like if they aren't happy with your services, like how do you deal with that? How does that get to you? But then also let's talk about like staff, like whenever they are, you know, judging you for maybe a decision that you made that they don't like.
That's a really good question. So I like criticism when it comes to something that I can fix, because I want to just continue to make myself better. But with clients, I think, you know, I have a really good way of talking to them and maybe kind of twisting the situation into something positive. But when it comes to difficult clients, sometimes I think it's best just to let them be upset. And because I don't think anything I'm going to say changes their mind. Right. And even if I think like, and I say this to the staff a lot, like, even if we think she's like a Karen or like she's being crazy, I always say, you know, there's something there. There's something at the bottom line that happened that she should be validated for. You know, she might be being nasty or whatever, but let's take what she's saying and maybe make this better next time. Even if she is being a little crazy, there's something there we could have done better. Yeah. You know?
Exactly.
And criticism from the staff, I recently had some really harsh things said up to me from a staff member. She's no longer there. And I cried. I thought about it a lot. I think a lot of it was just, she was hurt. And so she was taking it out on me, but then I think she did have some points. So I'm trying to maybe try to twist that into something positive for myself again and better myself.
Yeah. I think it's important that you listen and you grow.
Right.
And like you said, you try to make it better in some way. Like maybe it's a lesson that you have to learn, even though it's not something maybe you're ready to learn.
Right.
Life comes at us at times when we least expect it.
Exactly.
So we talked about your team. We talked about like kind of changing careers and that shift. Like you and I are both very girly. Like I feel like we bonded over the fact that we were like the only ones who wore makeup in the hospital.
I know.
We were like, wait, she looks like me.
Yeah. Like this is surgery. Why do you have lashes on?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously it's more like normalized to embrace your femininity, however that word is, at work, in what we do. But like, you know, do you still get criticized for that? Like, what do you feel? How do you feel about that?
No, I mean, not now, not that, you know, it's my building and I think the girls love it. Like I come in with a new outfit and they're all like, oh my gosh, like, hold on, stay there. We got to get a picture of you. I think, I'm sure some jealousy from some parts. But no, I think I'm able to embrace it and just, you know, live my best life and be me.
Right. I know. I feel like that was one of the other things that was almost like a weight off of my chest. Cause it's like, who cares? Like what you wear, how you do your hair, how much makeup you wear or you don't wear. Like as long as you're there doing your job well, like your appearance is your appearance. Exactly. You know, I mean, I personally value someone who puts time and effort into the way they look versus someone who absolutely doesn't. Right. You know, like to me, it just speaks to how much you pay attention to details and like how much you care about yourself and other people. Right. So
I remember when we worked together and I remember like you being judged for that. God. And you know, I had comments too, but I was like, I don't see it. I can't relate. Like I like it.
Yeah. No, I remember when I was in residency, there were girls, like, I think they were students or maybe it was probably students when I was a resident. They used to say that I was quote unquote, advancing myself in surgery with my sexuality. Oh, meanwhile, I like never slept with anybody. No. Like I was the least person to like flirt with the guys. And
you did like, not flirt.
I just did my thing.
No, you were serious.
Like, sorry, I showed up looking better than you.
You were intimidating and serious. And that's what, yeah, exactly.
No, but it's really true. And I feel like that, you know, isn't just in the medical space, but it like crosses through social media too. You know, like I'm sure you get comments and like random DMs that they didn't mean to send to you that maybe are really judgmental. And it just, you know, I used to let those things bother me, but now it's like, I know that it's coming from a place of insecurity or something else on their part. And it has absolutely nothing to do with me or you.
Yeah. That's funny that you said DMs sent to you, because somebody sent me a DM once that said she needs to eat a hamburger. And I wrote back, me? And then she said something like trying to
like, whoops,
undo it. But I was like, oh honey, you're never coming back to me.
I know. Right. And then they just like, you know, what is it? Foot and mouth or something like that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I want to talk about being a mom. Like you're a new mom. How old is your baby?
2 months.
Oh my God. So I can't believe you're here. I'm sorry. I should have had you come later.
No, it's fine.
It's like the worst time ever.
Her and I party every night together at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
I'm tired, but I
still party at 3 a.m.
You do?
Yeah. Oh, Cam was up last night. Well, I had the night nurse last night because I had surgery today, but the night before he was up like 1 and 3 and I'm like, bro, he's teething. So yeah.
No, there's definitely been nights where it's like almost every hour. Yeah. But it's religiously 3. Yeah. Like midnight 3, 5-ish. Yeah. But like in between the midnight and 3, sometimes there's a 1 and a 2. Yeah. You know?
Right. You never know.
Yeah. I think actually this is a bit of a touchy subject right now because I'm currently finding it a little difficult to balance everything, especially the family side. And I feel guilty a little bit. Mm-hmm. If you would have asked me this before I had my 2-month-old, I would have been like, it's great. I juggle it well. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a good balance. Yeah. But it's actually like a conversation my husband and I have had recently, you know, about like working too much and not being home enough. And then I'm feeling guilty. And then him and I are arguing. So, I mean, just to be honest, it's reality. Like
it is real.
We've been struggling with that aspect a bit, but I told him today, I said, listen, it's not that I obviously put my family second, but work gives me it gives me my
purpose,
life, my purpose, my fulfillment. And, I don't think he can relate, which is not anything wrong, but cause he has a business too. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. I love what I do so much and I love my kids so much too, but I need to be, you know, the comments that were made by that other person were some family comments. And so I think that's also why it's hitting hard is because of things she said and then arguing with my husband and trying to figure it out. I'm like, okay, Kiera, like, you know, but I think too, it's the fact that I have a newborn-ish. I mean, she's a little older than newborn now, but that's what's added.
That's a newborn.
Yeah.
That's a newborn. Let me tell you, the first year is a newborn, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. The first year you're like, what?
It's like a whirlwind. No. So, I mean,
how do you do it?
Yeah. As I was going to say, as someone who's a little bit further along, my baby's only 6 months. So we're not that far, but it does get better, you know, like, and I think once you start sleeping a little bit more, it gets better. And, you know, you do have to change a little bit and make some more sacrifices. Like right when around the time that you're at, like at 2 months is when I went back to work and I had like so many things planned because I was like, maternity leave is going to be this amount of time, X amount of days, no many more, no fewer, you know, and then I'm back to work. I'm back to life. Everything's going to be normal. It's going to be totally fine. I'm going to be just as skinny as I was before, you know, like all those things. And I really like jam-packed my schedule. And I think that was like a big mistake. I mean, I did it all and I've got the photos to prove it, but you know, was I really present there? Not so much. Was I really present at home? Not so much. And I think, you know, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do everything. And at the end of the day, your family is most important. Like your identity is your identity and who you are, but you also have to like try to find that balance. And some days are going to be really good. Some days are going to be really shitty. Right. I think that's just like the reality of life. And as long as you are dedicated to making it better, making it work, and like, you know that you're going to be there and they're going to be there for you, then it's going to be fine. You know, like it just takes time. And like, once your hormones, I mean, like yours, different situation and everything, but you know, hormones play into this, like not sleeping plays into this. Like there's so much that it's just like, you know, there's days where I'm like, we're getting a divorce. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like,
that may have been me last week.
Yeah. Like this is the stuff that happens in the height of the moment. It's so normal. Like you think it's not normal, but it's freaking normal. And you just have to keep going.
Well, good. It sounds like we're almost the same person because everything you said, like I only actually took 2 or 3 weeks off for maternity leave, which, you know, I definitely was judged for that. I got even comments from clients and stuff, but, we're building a home and we have other things going on. And we had a surrogacy birth, you know, and so we have a lot of costs. And so, you know, mama's got to work.
Thank you. I feel right. So. I know it's easy for people to judge from the outside, but they don't know, you know, what's going on. They don't know those dynamics. They don't know, like, you know, what your role in the home is, like as the mom or as the businesswoman or whatever it may be.
Because if this was the husband, nobody would blink an eye.
No one would care. Yeah. They would be like applauding, like screaming it from the rooftops. Yeah. Like, oh, praise him, roll out a red carpet, you know, and buy him another car on top of it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Well, that makes me feel better.
No, it's going to be fine. You just have to keep going, you know, and like you said, your work gives you your identity. And I think that at the end of the day, that's really, really, really important too. There's a motivational speaker, like self-development guy that I listen to all the time. And he says like, one of the worst things that you could do for your kids is not live to your full potential. So showing them that you're working and that you're dedicated to what you're doing and being everything that you can be is so much more than just not, you know, like, and that's not to say staying at home or being a stay-at-home mom is very different. Like that's also a job, but if what you do, I know I could never do it.
Me either.
If what you do is like, if you're really winning in life and taking those opportunities and being the best that you can be, like your kids see that. They see that and they're going to respect that. And it's going to be really good for them in the long run.
That's what I'm hoping. I have a goal.
You got a goal. You're doing it. Okay. So let's just talk a little bit about aesthetics in general. Like, what are you loving doing right now? Anything new?
So I am having like this obsession with Sculptra right now. So I've been doing Sculptra for a long time, but just recently, I don't know why I'm like telling every patient, I think my assistants are like, what has gotten injured? Is somebody paying her to sell Sculptra? Like, I'm like, oh, you need Sculptra. I don't know. I've been studying it more. I've gone to a few like talks about it, with, Galderma and just other injectors talking about it. And it really is like a one-of-a-kind thing. I don't know. Actually, I'd be interested to ask you do you do facial plastics or just body?
I do a little bit of facial plastics too. Yeah.
Because I know that, well, I've heard that maybe some facial plastics don't love Sculptra because when they go to have a facelift, it makes it harder.
I haven't seen Sculptra in a facelift, and obviously I'm not doing a million facelifts a week, but my partner is. Like he's literally one of the busiest persons in South Florida for facelifts. And we never see Sculptra really. Like I feel like it really integrates well. I think the body like lays down a nice layer of its own collagen, and we haven't seen that particularly, at least not in the 2 years that I've been there.
Well, that's good.
And we've done a lot of facelifts in 2 years. But I would say, some other products we see, like we've seen Bellafill lately, in somebody's tear troughs a couple times. That was nasty. And that's pretty, I mean, one girl thought it was Radiesse. So, you know, you can see these things like the biostimulatory fillers like down the road, maybe, but I haven't really had Sculptra be a problem. that I've heard
awesome.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're loving Sculptra for face, but also for body, right?
Yes. Yes. The booty. I've done it on mine.
What?
Yeah.
I need to do that.
It's so good. It's just, I love it.
How many syringes does a typical person need on their butt?
Oh man. I think I have like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 10 per side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe even 40. Cause I think I did more than, but I also added, I'm not being clear cause I've also done some radius in the butt too. So
Gotcha.
Yeah. I've done like 2 sessions. So.
And the treatment itself, like, was it uncomfortable?
No.
And how was the recovery?
I am
like,
such
were you
a baby.
swollen, bruised?
Yes.
Like,
oh my gosh, I have pictures. They're terrifying. I would never show a client. Oh my gosh. I am such a baby with just like needles and pain. My staff, like, pretty much like they make me take the laughing gas every time and all the numbing and the blocks and all the things. But I have to say, in all honesty, the butt was like nothing.
And it, like, people are loving it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you heard of Renuva?
No.
Okay. It's like a fat, it's like basically fat, but it has been, decellularized.
Right.
So it doesn't have any DNA or anything like that in it, but it's like stem cells essentially.
Because if you or I wanted a BBL, we could never.
Right. Exactly.
Like, where are they going to get the fat?
I mean,
from?
well, I feel like you could find it.
Absolutely not.
No, I know. I would never tell a client like me that I could have one. But, but yes, it's another one that's really good. Like, if you're putting in areas where there's already fat, it puts that scaffolding in and your body lays down fat where that fat is.
I did hear about that.
You should look into it because I think you would love it too. It's very comparable with the results for like Sculptra, but
but I'm loving Sculptra on the face so much just because every woman comes in and they pull their face back and they say, I want to look like this. Yeah. And I say, Sculptra is not going to do that, but it is, I explain the bone loss, the fat loss, the collagen loss as you age, the jaw shifting, all of that.
Yeah.
And I just tell them, like, fillers, hyaluronic acid is not going to give you, well, I don't believe that any filler lifts.
No.
I don't know how you feel about that. Probably not, but I don't think it lifts.
No.
I think that it's like an industry argument, but I think that it changes light projection and the way that it hits the face.
Right.
Maybe it makes it appear lifted by the way that you're, adding volume in certain areas just with like light reflection. Anyhow, I do think though that like Sculptra on the perimeter of the face is really nice just to help like balance and give that like bouncy texture back from the bone and fat loss. So
yeah. Oh,
I love it.
I should do it. I've never done it on myself.
No, I love it.
I know. I've thought about it. I was always scared of it. Like I was always scared that I would get like a nodule or something, and it's just really not that common.
Yeah. 555.
Yeah.
Massaging.
Okay. So that's something that you're loving now. Like, what's your go-to though? Like your OG, your favorite filler or favorite area to inject? Like when you see somebody,
I mean, I have to say, of course, lips.
Yeah.
Kiss. I mean, I am Kissed by Kiera. So.
Oh my God. We didn't even talk about that. Yes. You guys need to follow her, Kissed by Kiera on Instagram, but also
with a Y, KY.
Okay. Yes. And you got to see the beautiful dress that you have made out of like Restylane boxes.
Right.
Like you guys need to go to her Instagram just so you can see that because it's so good. I'll make sure that her, bio and everything has the Instagram handle if you look at the podcast recording notes, but, definitely worth a follow so you can see that. But so lips, you love Kiss, Restylane Kiss, which is like
Kiss, I love it.
Beautiful, beautiful product. Yeah, I totally agree.
How do you feel about Juvederm?
I mean, I use a lot of it.
You do?
I'll be honest. Yeah. Cause we're like big Allergan, big Galderma, but more so Allergan people. My implants are Allergan, like all that stuff. So I use it and I make it work how I want it to, but I feel like there are really good other products, too. Yeah. It just depends on the face, depends on what we're doing and their goals, but I don't hate it. Yeah. There was a time where I freaking hated it. And I was like, this shit sucks. But it was probably just because I was new, it was probably the way I was using it. I really haven't had that same feeling kind of since I've shifted my career and been doing like the surgery and the aesthetics at the same time kind of a thing.
I mean, I'm big Galderma, but yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
No problems. I know. I feel like there's always like the debate, like who's better, who's got the better filler. Okay. So I have a question for you. I had like some cheek filler the other day. I got this horrible bruise. Like I don't usually bruise. Right. What do you tell people for bruising?
So, we actually have, a homemade arnica gel.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we sell that, but basically I say just to use arnica, ice, and if they were to have an event or something, we can laser it. With the BBL.
Gotcha. Yeah. Exactly. I know I should have done all those things. I basically did nothing and just like tried to cover it up every day. And I was like, shit.
Same. I don't do any of that either. I tell all my clients, don't do this, don't do that. Right. And here I am not listening.
I know it looked like I had I got beat or something, but it was fine. If the cheeks look good, that was worth it.
They do look really good.
I mean, no pain, no gain. Okay. So in your store, like in your boutique, like what's your favorite line that you carry right now?
I think Love Shack Fancy for sure. Yeah. Because it's so girly. It's very like lots of pink, lots of flowers, lots of frills. And that's just me. So that's why I really wanted that brand there. Just because I feel like it speaks like a lot about me.
And there's not a lot of places to buy really nice things where you are.
No.
Like people would have to travel here to Palm Beach or to the Gardens or something.
Yeah. Stuart is like a cute little beachy, boaty town. But there's not a lot of like big stores or anything. There's like little boutiques that have nothing, name brand.
Right.
So that was my whole idea was every time I wanted a nice outfit, I was always driving down to Palm Beach. And I just thought, it would be nice to bring a little bit of that to Stuart. So it's definitely been a huge investment and a risk.
Right.
And it's still like growing. So, but
I mean, so did you do all of this yourself? Like get these contracts with these retailers?
Yes and no. So I have a really good friend, Kristen Brown. She is a fashionista. And so I kind of went to her and was like, hey, who do you think would work? How should I go about this? Because I was just like starting, And she's like, well, I would send an email, just kind of stating your purpose. And so she kind of walked me through it at the beginning. I did hire a manager for the position, but she got offered this like crazy job that I couldn't compete with my little boutique. Yeah. So I, wished her the best, but now my staff is helping me with the boutique and I'm doing a lot. So once it gets busier, I'm hoping to be able to hire another manager for it.
Yeah. Who was the first person that you hired?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
Did you hire an assistant?
Yes. Okay. So I worked like by myself for a long time and I did the whole checkout on my own, like everything. Now I don't, now like I'm really big about not talking about money with clients at all. Like even if they ask me, well, how much is that? I pause and I just say, she's going to go over that with you. I like to remove myself because I don't want them to feel like I'm just like taking their money, like I'm there for their best interest. So, so I hired, actually, it was a girl's sister. I had a lash tech that worked for me and it was her sister. And I like hired her part-time, but that didn't work out so good. So.
It's really hard. It's really hard because, like positions where people are assisting and checking out and like kind of running and organizing like secretary positions, like they don't pay very well. Yeah. Like you want someone who's like CEO level doing it.
Right. Exactly. Like you have all these expectations. Like, do you have a business degree? Can you do math like amazingly good? Yeah. So, I went through and then I hired another one and she worked out a lot better, but then she went off to do like, another career venture, but then it just kind of grew and grew. And then, the girl, Stephanie, that I mentioned a couple of times, she was my first injector I hired and she was nervous and I was nervous and she almost quit. Like she pretty much did quit. Yeah. And she called me, she's like, this isn't for me. I can't do it. And I said, no, you're doing it. Yeah. You're going to be great at it. I can see that. And so she was like, okay. And then now we joke about it. She's like, remember when I tried to quit and you wouldn't let me? And I'm like, yeah. And then once she got busy, she was pretty much, like just wanted to do lasers and a little talks. And, so then I hired Melissa, my other injector who's been with me a while. and she wanted to do more fillers. So there was like a good mix.
Right.
But now Stephanie is like, she told me she would never do eye filler. You know, she's like the safety queen, which is great. But now she's doing eye filler and she's like growing, and Melissa's doing amazing. So yeah.
I love that. So you guys have the Halo BBL and you have the Moxie.
Yeah. And the Diva.
What do you love about these platforms? Like, what do you find are like, what's the best for each person?
Well, I think I like it because with injectables, you know, you can do a lot of shaping and helping with a lot of things, but with the laser, I always say it's like the icing on the cake, you know, like you can have awesome lips and fresh under eyes and bomb cheeks, but if you have all this sun damage and texture, it's not going to be still that good.
Right.
So polish it off with a laser and then you're flawless.
Yeah.
So.
And then you come to me for surgery.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. I love that. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before I ask you a couple heart to heart questions? Not heart to heart, but vision questions.
I feel like we've talked
about a lot. Yeah. I know we've covered a lot. I feel like this is really good for maybe people who want to get into aesthetics, people who, you know, are scared to embrace their boss side. I feel like it's, you know, we've talked a lot about really owning yourself, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, here's a question. Who do you consider, when you're thinking about your business and what you're doing, do you feel like you have any competitors where you are, or who's your competition in your mind?
Myself. I'm my biggest, that sounds so cliche maybe, but I'm my biggest critic. I really try not to pay attention to the other people around. Even if a client comes and they say, oh, I went to so-and-so and they did this. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, let's just talk about what we can do moving forward.
Right.
I mean, I do think that we have in Martin County for sure, the best med spa for sure. And I want to consider myself the best injector in the area.
Yeah.
But truly, I never let myself stop, or it's never enough, which I've been told a lot, maybe that's not a good thing, but it's always okay, on to the next. I did this, I'm accomplishing this, I can do this now. What's next? Or you could have done that better. And I think, you know, even sometimes I'm like that with my staff. I'll ask them to do a project for me, and then I'll look at it and I'll critique it. And I'm getting better about that. Yeah. I'm making myself sound like a bad boss. I'm actually a really cool boss, but you know, I'm like, well, maybe we can change this or that. And I can see sometimes on their face, oh man, it's never freaking good enough for her. But, but you know, I say to them, I'm like this to myself too. It's not just you guys. I have super high expectations for even me. So
yeah. Okay. And then what is your vision? What do you think you're going to do next?
I know.
I mean, okay, let's just put it on the table. Okay. You started as a CRNA, a nurse, and then a CRNA, and then you started your own injecting business, and then you started your own anesthesia business. You have your own building, whole empire that includes a surgical center, and you have a boutique, and that literally more. I've
thought about that before.
No, I think it's amazing. I think it's really amazing. And I think it's something to admire. So I think it's important, to kind of walk through, what are you going to do next?
I know. So my injector, Melissa, she always she always puts the brakes on for me and kind of shows me a little bit of reality. And she's she kind of tries to slow me down sometimes, in a nice way. And, so she's like, what are you going to do now, Kiera? She's like, your wheels are probably turning. And I'm like, but the OR has been a lot of work, you know, and probably the hardest thing to get started out of all of it. So that's still got a lot of my attention.
Yeah.
But I've thought the same thing. My dad wants me to franchise and go big, but I've looked into that, and it's a lot of work, and then you give up ownership, and then there's, you know, me wanting to micromanage everything, which I couldn't do. So I don't know, like, that actually I would say maybe a year ago, I would say, I want to go like statewide or nationwide and have the brand. But I don't know if that's so much my vision anymore. So I think I'm in like a little bit of a period of, I don't know, but figure it out.
It's hard with that because it'll never be you, like it'll never be your baby when you do that.
And then they take over and they just kind of take it to another level. And I might think like, but
maybe you do it, but under a different name, or like you kind of do something similar, but maybe not exactly your aesthetic or something.
Well, it's still, I mean, we expanded in October of last year, so it's still like fresh. So maybe in a few years when I'm like, okay, I want to slow down a little bit, but
well, you, I mean, obviously you probably train your injectors to some degree, right?
Yeah. I've been asked a lot if I'm going to do like
training or talking or speaking or anything like that.
Yeah. I've been asked like by some of the companies to do trainings, but that's not my passion right now. And I don't want to be fake and just do it. So when I do think, and that's why I put the conference center in there too. So eventually like with trainings, when I'm ready to kind of slow down from being like in the chair with the client, then I think I will do that. Yeah. And I get asked all the time by people, but
we should do like a little conference. Like we should do a training conference, like a aesthetics something.
That would be so
That would be really fun. Okay. We're going to do that. Okay. That's next. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, also what's keeping me really busy right now is I'm building a house. So that's also got my attention.
I'm
that's
about to
really
sell
hard.
my house and build a new house too. Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah. It's a lot of work.
I'm not going to build one myself. I'm going to build one that's like ready to go. That's what I'm going to do now. And then I'll do
that's easier because we're doing like custom everything. Like they want to know where every light switch and every outlet. And I'm like, I don't know, just put it where it should go. Yeah. I don't know.
That's so exciting. So, and you and your two little girls and your husband, where is it at in Stewart?
It's in Palm City, which is like pretty much Stewart. Yeah. 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 It's on 5 acres. So we wanted to we've always wanted to live on the water, but with the two girls, we thought maybe living on 5 acres would be fun for them. Yeah. So just like run wild and free. And then when they get older, we can, move.
I grew up on a farm, so.
Yeah, I remember that.
Acreage is nice.
I want to get one of those Highland cows, those miniature cows.
Oh, so cute. You should. And you should get like goats. You should definitely get chickens. That way you can have your own eggs. Yes. I could help you. I could help you. You just let me know. I'll send you my Pinterest board for chicken coops.
Oh, yes. So fun.
No, I know. That'd be great. Okay. Well, tell us. So we want to give a promo. Like I want you to be able to give a promotion to everybody, all of our listeners that are like local, or maybe they're like in the area that want to come see you. Like, let's give them something special to say thank you. And like, obviously thank you for coming on and talking, but what do you want to do?
Thank you. So for all of the listeners, I'd like to offer 20% off for any service at Albany Aesthetics. For any of the new listeners that we have come on,
they could just mention the podcast.
Yeah. Just mention the podcast and you're in.
Slimming Surgeon podcast. Yeah. I heard Kiera. Sign me up.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So thank you so much again. I feel like you're such an inspiration. You're really doing it all. Don't worry. You're going to make it through this infant period. It'll be like a year though.
No, I feel really good.
Give each other grace.
I feel good. I look up to you too. But like hearing you say the same things made me feel better. Yeah. I needed this today.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I always leave recording my podcast like so hype about life. It's the best thing ever. So you should also start a podcast.
Right.
Just put a studio in Albany Aesthetics. It'll be totally fine.
Oh God, now my wheels are turning.
I know. So anyways, thank you again for coming on. Everyone who's listening, please follow my podcast. Leave me a 5-star, only 5 stars, no 3 stars, no 4 stars, none of that jazz.
Yeah. What is a 4-star even? Like you were almost good.
Yeah.
You're almost great.
I know. We're not even into that. So leave a 5-star review, leave me some comments, DM me at Slimming Surgeon. And you can also follow Kiera at Kiss by Kiera. I'll put it in the podcast notes. Thank you guys. And we'll talk to you next time.